So let's talk about something that's a huge deal in tech right now. We're digging into this really tricky question. How can you build an AI that is technically perfect, totally accurate, but still ends up being a complete business disaster? It really all comes down to this clash between what's accurate and what's fair.
So let's just start with the big puzzle, the one that this whole explainer is built around. Is it actually possible for an algorithm to be mathematically sound, getting the right answer based on all the data it's given, but still produce an outcome that is just deeply ethically unfair? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. And look, this isn't some hypothetical classroom problem. The Compass case is a stark, real-world example. An AI was being used in the U.S. justice system to predict how likely a defendant was to reoffend. And technically, it was accurate, based on the historical data it had. But the result? It was flagging black defendants as high risk far more often than white defendants. The code worked, but the outcome was devastatingly unfair.
Okay, let's really dive into this. What this all means is that we're being forced into this fundamental shift in how we think about technology. For decades, the main question in tech was always, can we build it? It was all about capability. But now, the much more important, and honestly, much harder question is, should we build it? And if we do, how do we build it responsibly?
And for anyone out there who's focused on the bottom line, this is absolutely the crucial point. You can spend months, maybe even years, building a business case for an AI, calculating this massive potential return on investment. But all of that projected value, it can just evaporate overnight. All it takes is one public relations nightmare. An ethical failure is a direct financial risk, period.
The thing is, the Compass case wasn't just a one-off thing. This is a pattern we're seeing again and again, even with the biggest names in tech. So let's look at a few more examples to really get a handle on how even the best-intentioned AI can go so disastrously wrong.
First up, Amazon. Their business goal here was completely logical. They wanted to create an AI to sift through thousands and thousands of resumes to find the best candidates. Save time, increase efficiency. It's a textbook case for automation. Makes perfect sense.
But then, look what happened. The intention was great. Find the best people, full stop. But the unintended consequence? The AI literally taught itself to penalize resumes that included the word women's. Like, say, captain of the women's chess club. It was systematically downgrading qualified female candidates. It's just, wow.
So why on earth did this happen? Well, the problem wasn't some malicious code, it was something called systemic bias. See, the AI was trained on a decade of Amazon's own hiring data, and that data just reflected a historically male-dominated tech industry. The AI didn't learn to be sexist, it simply learned that the successful pattern in the data it was given was to hire men. It was just doing what it was told.
All right, let's move to our next case, and you'll see how this pattern builds. Remember the Apple Card launched with Goldman Sachs? They used an AI to set credit limits for new customers. And the goal, of course, was to do this fairly, accurately, based on solid financial data.
But again, the reality was a total PR disaster. High-profile people in tech started noticing that husbands were getting credit limits that were like 20 times higher than their wives, even when they shared bank accounts and filed taxes together. This system was clearly, undeniably producing a biased outcome.
And the key lesson here is all about transparency. When customers, and get this, even Apple's own co-founder, couldn't get a straight answer for why the AI made these bizarre decisions, trust was just shattered. It wasn't only about the unfair outcome, it was about this black box that was making decisions that nobody could explain.
So, this really brings us to the root cause of all this. Why does this keep happening? How do these systems, which are designed for pure efficiency, end up just automating inequality? Well, it all comes down to a very simple and, frankly, very dangerous principle. This right here, this is probably the single most important idea to get your head around. An AI is not some magical crystal ball. It is a pattern-matching machine. It analyzes the past to make educated guesses about the future. And if the past it's learning from is filled with our own human biases, the AI will just treat that bias as a rule to be followed. The process is almost mechanical. Step 1, you feed the AI biased historical data. Step 2, it chews through it and identifies the biased pattern, in this case being male, as a key predictor of success. And so Step 3, it just automates that bias at scale, basically locking in the inequality of the past for the future. Okay, now it's your turn to put this to the test. Imagine a hospital. They want to use AI to find their absolute sickest patients so they can give them some extra care. The team decides to use total healthcare spending as the proxy for sickness. So, why is this a problem? What's the hidden trap here?
And here's the answer. And yeah, this actually happened. The AI learned that higher spending equals more sickness. But here's the thing. Wealthier people can afford to spend more on all kinds of care, not just for critical illness, but for preventative stuff too. So the AI ended up prioritizing rich patients over poorer patients who were, in reality, much sicker. That seemingly neutral data point, spending, was hiding a massive socioeconomic bias. So if the problem is basically baked into the data and the whole process, what do? How do we fix it? Well, the solution requires a pretty radical shift in how we think about this stuff. We have to move ethics from being an afterthought at the end of the line to being the blueprint at the very beginning.
And the contrast is pretty stark. The old, broken way is to build your entire product, spend millions of dollars, and then, right before you launch, have a committee check for any ethical red flags. The new way, what we call ethics by design, uses ethical principles as a core guide from day one. It helps decide what you build and how you build it, right from the start.
Think about it like this. The ethical review can't be the last step. It has to be the first step. It has to happen right at the beginning, in the design phase. Before anyone writes a single line of code, you have to be asking, what could go wrong here? What biases might be hiding in our data? Who could be harmed by this thing?
Now, I know this might all seem a little abstract, so let's end with a simple, really powerful tool that anyone can use to put this ethics by design idea into practice. You could literally start using this tomorrow.
It's called the headline test, and it's so simple. Before you launch anything, just ask your team this one question. If the logic behind our AI was printed on the front page of a newspaper tomorrow, would our customers trust us more, or would they be furious? If the answer is furious, well, you've got a serious problem you need to solve before you ship.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Take a look at the data and the algorithms being used in your own work, or even in your own life. If they were suddenly exposed to the entire world tomorrow, what would that headline say? Would it be a story of incredible innovation, or would it be a story of unintended harm? The answer to that question, that's the real business case for AI ethics.